explore the 12 days of Christmas and the 12 powers, we are so grateful. And so it is. Amen. All righty.
In the gift of the present. Thanks, Wendy.
So, the 12 days of Christmas have a specific meaning in traditional Christianity, and they have a somewhat different meaning in unity. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I realize some of you are well versed in the 12 powers, and some of you may be less versed, and perhaps it's even the first time you're seeing it. So just a quick elevator to speech, as we call it, about what the 12 powers were. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, was very much into reading and exploring spiritual paths. And one of the things that he caught into was the idea of energy, vibration. And from that, he decided that perhaps the best way to explain Christ consciousness, that divinity within us, was to break it down into smaller chunks. And so he picked 12 in the idea of Jesus called the 12 disciples. And people have layered onto that colors, locations in the body, other stuff. There's quite a bit of material about this. Now, that said, co-founder Myrtle wasn't into the 12 powers. And I just want to acknowledge that, not to say, oh, well, they were fighting over it or anything. Myrtle was very clear about one power, one presence. And she didn't have to work it through the way Charles seems to have. And I want people to understand that, because sometimes it feels like that you have to believe in this in order to be a true unity person. And that's not true. When people say, oh, I really struggle with the 12 powers, I just say, go read Myrtle. It's not a big deal. If you want to be a credentialed leader, yeah, you need to know them for the test. And beyond that, whatever. I personally am very fond of the 12 powers, probably because that was the very first course I took for credit. And I was introduced to it in a way that was very meaningful for me. I had a lot of ahas. I was able to unload a lot of baggage from my church of origin. And so it's really worked for me. And if it works for you, terrific. If you're curious and you want to try it, great. And if not, no worries. We're not going to throw you out for being a heretic or anything like that. So this is the, yes, Sandy.
It might not mean anything to everybody else, but who was your teacher for 12 powers?
Hypatia Hasbrook.
Okay.
Who was at the time the dean of the Unity School. So I was sitting at the feet of the master, as it were. I also learned her book, Handbook of Positive Prayer, from her. So I was dunked deep in the teachings very early. So that's, yeah, that some of you who have been around a while may have known Hypatia. She was amazing. Anyway, I've totally lost where I was, but that's okay, Sandy. It was a good point to pull in. So I think I was talking about, we're not going to call you a heretic and kick you out, okay? It's a tool in the toolbox. It's a tool. Thank you, Verna. Appreciate knowing that. We just love and bless you wherever you are for joining us. It's one of the spiritual tools I have in my toolbox. Does it mean I pull it out every day? No. Do you pull a monkey wrench out every day? No. Well, unless you're a plumber or some kind of construction worker. But for the most of us, that monkey wrench stays in our toolbox until it's needed. And so for me, 12 powers, I may not need them every day. If I'm at home doing laundry, I might not need them as much as I do if I'm about to give a Sunday talk or some other time when I just kind of need a reminder for myself of these inner powers that I have, or faculties or spiritual gifts, or however you want to phrase them. I think the fact that we've given them a whole bunch of different names tells you how much people have adopted them as their own. And there we are. So in our booklet, the 12 Days of Christmas, which are the period traditionally from Christmas Day until the wise men show up on the 6th of January, or Epiphany. And then we get into the whole thing of the Orthodox calendar where January 6th is Christmas and we move forward differently. Another story altogether, but that's the historical context for this. So our first day is what I would call Boxing Day. For me, Boxing Day is a great day. That's the day that my whole family gets together to celebrate Christmas because we're all off doing things with our own intermediate families on Christmas. So as I said, Luelgosh had the sign up. So faith is blue. It's in the pineal gland up in your brain. I love to think of it as being like the blue light that you usually see around traditional icons of the Virgin Mary, that it's a deeper blue and it just kind of resonates. The affirmation that we have for the Monday is, in stillness, I remember that divine presence is the faith in me. And I love the last paragraph of this particular writing. Faith reminds me I do not need to fix or solve anything. I am present with myself, my thoughts and feelings, and my circumstances. In this awareness, I realize the universe first believed in me. This faith in me is my guiding light. For those of you who have seen me give a Sunday talk, I tend to use the 12 powers as sort of a foundation for my talks over the course of the year, because it is kind of like building a house. You know, we talk about the foundation of faith, that's our core beginning point. So any questions or comments, feel free to jump in. I'm probably going to do a lot of the talking this week, but happy to. I think everybody's kind of in a space of, yeah, I just want to sit and soak it in. So don't feel you have to jump in, but by the same token, I acknowledge I'm doing a lot of the talking. But maybe that's what I need to do today. Our second day for the 27th is strength. Spring green, so a nice vibrant green, small of the back. You know, if you don't lift with your legs properly, guess where it hurts? Right there, right? And one of the things that you will find in Unity publications is disagreement whether or not love should come second or strength. In my feeling, strength comes second because that's how the disciples were called. I understand that, especially in family ministry, you swap the two, strength and love, so that love is there for Valentine's Day, which is a little easier for the kids to understand and develop that power without having to get into strength. But we get into things about, you know, physical strength, spiritual strength, intellectual strength, psychological strength, emotional strength, all of these capacities that aren't limited to just things spiritual, but also can interact with our human physical side. And I love how the author of the affirmations for the day, when I feel pain or suffering in myself or in the world around me, it does not consume me. I know pain and suffering are temporary, and I take action to support myself or others. Suffering and conflict are not the main events in my life, nor the primary motivators. I center my awareness on love, connection, and deep abiding joy. These become my strength, my superpower that helps me endure any circumstance, so that the main events in my life comprise love, connection, and joy. In this knowing, I am filled with compassion for myself and others. And what a wonderful thought. I know that, you know, we'll read it again on the 27th, but to be honoring that today when the president of Ukraine is coming to the US and making his case for additional assistance, humanitarian and others, and just to admire the strength of the Ukrainian people and others in the world who are experiencing incredible difficulties at this time of year as things get cold in the northern climes. For Wednesday, a week today, wisdom, yellow, and the solar plexus. So right up here, you know, right under your diaphragm. I learned early on to trust my solar plexus. That was one of the first things I learned was when my intellect was saying, do this, and the pit of my stomach was going, no, don't. If I followed my intellect, I usually got in trouble. Sometimes big trouble, sometimes not good trouble. So I have learned to trust that gut. And that has helped me with my affirmations and working. And our affirmation for wisdom: through contemplation, I allow my highest wisdom to reveal itself through me. And I think I forgot to give you the affirmation for strength. So let's go back to that. Sourced in divine joy, my inner strength is enduring. How we need that some days. All right, back over wisdom. I open to the mystery, and wisdom flows like healing waters into all my affairs, my finances, my relationships, my health, and my well-being. I embrace my perfect right to forge a new path, to explore uncharted territory, to take up space with all that I am. My heart knows the way, and I allow it to converse and collaborate with wisdom. Next Thursday is love, represented by the disciple John, who, jumping forward to Holy Week, you may recall, Jesus made sure that John took care of his mother. And that was, symbolic of, and that's part of the reason that John is the disciple for love. When I allow love to live through me, it takes on a life of its own and returns itself to me tenfold. Love in action is generous and clear. It is an infinite fountain, and it sets healthy boundaries. The flow of love will naturally create boundaries, like a riverbank carved by water. And our affirmation is, I embrace my grateful and generous heart. I am loving and am loved. When I teach 12 powers, I often remind people that you need wisdom and love, that love will just want to love everything. And we're beginning to realize how important it is to have that wisdom already built into our foundation to create those healthy boundaries, to create that idea of, this is undesirable for me, this is desirable for me, and making the best possible choices when you have that opportunity. And as we move towards the new year, and perhaps some ideas around, what will I do next year? What will I release? What will I take on? That's often a good thing to have in the back of your mind, in my humble opinion. And your color is pink, and it's in your heart. So if you think about it, you have faith, love, and wisdom, all in this order. You might recognize a parallel to the chakras, and there is something of a parallel. Some people call these the Christian chakras. Friday, we get into power, also called dominion. And I've been kind of noodling which word I prefer. And I'm kind of leaning towards dominion, even though it used to be a grocery store chain, just because it has a certain tone to it. That power, when I think of power right now, I tend to think of military power, because that's what's so much on the news and social media and things like that. Dominion for me kind of represents a sense of authority in a good way, a sense of making choices and having that capacity to make choices. Divine power cultivates peace and harmonious relationships. I allow creative power to radiate from me in my thoughts, my words, and my actions. In this power, I am inspired, I am renewed, I am healed. For this is the path that creates connection with self, spirit, and all of life. In this connection, I am at peace. And I think that's an important aspect for ourselves to recognize, that dominion or power can lead to peace, but not in the sense of you pounded into submission, that instead you become at one with that divinity and see where it takes you. I am one with the creative power of the universe. This truth is my healing balm. Now, when I first took 12 Powers years ago, 1984 actually, that would not have been the affirmation. So we have over time learned different things about these 12 powers, how we verbiage them, how we express them to other people in our languaging, how we find ways to be inclusive, how we find ways to honor that, depending on what track you came from, whether it's from no religious upbringing or spiritual upbringing whatsoever, through to a very evangelical fundamentalist, literalist view, and all points in between. And I don't know if that's the two ends of the spectrum, but for these purposes, it will be. That we're learning as we grow through this, how we can best present this. And I'm kind of excited because there's been some new verbiage that's come out, and I'm pleased to see that it is more inclusive, more aware of what is and how we can address things that are uncomfortable or challenging. Next Saturday, imagination. Time to make your New Year's resolution and see what you're going to plant for 2023. It's a lighter blue, kind of like my chair. Sometimes it's got a bit of a teal to it. And it's the third eye. So right in the middle here, that idea that we are seeing from within without, rather than seeing from without within through our two eyes. And this is about that capacity to come up with ideas. I often will find that the less I try to think about them, and the more time I spend meditating and just being calm and allowing things to reveal, the better results I get. And that's just been my experience. If you had told me when I quit my job 5 years ago that I would be online doing what I'm doing, I would have told you you were crazy, because Zoom was only for corporations, don't you know, back then. And yet within a year, I was teaching my first class online. And we've grown and grown and grown. And now we have literally sea to shining sea, from the Atlantic to the Pacific and points in between. And I couldn't have imagined that. And I was open to saying, okay, I am here. I have this skill set. How can I use it? And things started happening. And that's where the imagination comes in. Not to narrow it to what you're willing to do, but to be as open as you can be to what is possible. Through imagination, I develop clarity of thought, hopes, and dreams. I am unlimited in my capacity to ideate. I don't know why the word ideate has come into our language lately, but it has. And I think it's like a verb to meaning to create ideas or to bring ideas into manifestation. And I am unlimited in my faith. I dream my world freely and explore how my gifts, talents, and unique perspectives contribute to the greater good. Gee, I should have read that first, then I could have skipped that whole part about me. Our affirmation: my imagination is powered by faith, and the path to my heart's desire is made clear. And yes, doing what I'm doing right now is my heart's desire. And it's just getting amazing as I get introduced to folks, not only across Canada, but around the world. New Year's Day. Understanding. I love how the 12 powers come into alignment with these 12 days after Christmas. Understanding. What is it to understand? I assume nothing about the year ahead. And with compassion, I see clearly who and where I am in this moment. My heart space expands into the mystery of what is within me and what is before me. This mystery contains the treasures of wisdom and knowledge, building blocks of spiritual understanding. My view becomes less myopic and expands to encompass the bigger cosmic picture of which I am a part. And our affirmation, as I meditate on the mystery of love and life, I receive the treasure of spiritual understanding. And you will find understanding, and we will have will in a moment. Understanding, will, and imagination are across the forebrow here, so that you have that whole, as you're looking forward, you have the understanding, the willingness, and the imagination to help co-create it. Will, for Monday, January 2nd. This is silver. I love that silver and gold are in the forefront of our, surrounding our imagination. It's like, for me, a reminder of the treasure that is needed to create things, that ability to have an account to pay for the internet, to have the capacity to purchase a good quality computer for myself, that whole treasure in the human sense is reflected in the colors of these two powers. I embrace divine will, which brings into action divine inspiration. I move forward in thought, word, and action with confidence as I am divinely guided. Blessings abound as I am released from the chains of fear, stress, and despair. Even in the most dire circumstances, I access divine guidance by setting my thoughts and heart on spirit. And our affirmation for will, I prayerfully discern my way forward and take my next step. I am at peace. And it's about willingness, not willfulness. So it's that ability to say yes, that ability to say no as appropriate, and to move forward with that. Tuesday the 3rd, order. Olive green. Oh, yeah, whatever. We won't worry about the slide, but in your navel. So again, something that is kind of gut related, and I think really appropriate to say, okay, yeah, is my order there? Is my wisdom there? Now, to be full disclosure, if you had a very spicy meal recently, do a little check-in. Is it your spices that are giving your stomach an upset, or is it your order and your wisdom trying to get your attention? All that I experience is here for me. Pain and suffering are not my fault, nor do I deserve them, nor are they here to teach me something. I am empowered as a spiritual being to use all that I have experienced for my learning, to refine my depth of compassion, my capacity for grace, both given and received, or to deepen my understanding and faith. Wisdom is refined in me through experience. I embrace my experiences as opportunities to deepen my awareness of God. And our affirmation is, I am in the divine flow and trust divine law to cultivate peace, joy, and love in me. Seal, 2 weeks hence. This was one that really, really kicked in for me, because whenever I am overly zealous for something that really isn't mine to do or mine to have, I get a headache, right? Like zap, right? It's like a vice at the back of my neck. And that's when I've learned I need to step back and say, oh, am I being too pushy about this? Or is this something that perhaps isn't mine to do? By the same token, when I get excited about something, it's not just this that is buzzing. Other faculties are buzzing as well. And it's not a painful buzz. It's just kind of a nice, it's almost like a massage kind of thing. So I've learned over time to recognize my body reactions of spiritual wisdom and intuition. I notice anew how spirit shines as those around me, and I admire the diversity of expression. I am inspired by the brilliance of others, and I am reminded of my own creative genius. How truly awesome it is to be alive, to be held in the loving arms of spirit, and to allow spirit to be revealed through me. I love that expression because I've been watching. They took down the jungle gym across the street from me and they've just reopened it. And it's now accessible to children with mobility issues, which has been a complaint of ours for quite a while. That, okay, 20 years ago, we weren't as aware of it. Well, we're aware now. And watching the children play and hearing their shrieks, even with all the windows and doors closed, they are so loud, I can hear them. And I get great joy out of that. It's not my zeal, but I am basking in the zeal of these children, finding a way to play together, regardless of any physical barriers. And it's been a wonderful. I have a chair overlooking the window so I can spy on them and see what's happening. And our affirmation, I courageously shine my light at full capacity as my soul sings its song. You may recall, I think it was Monday, was our affirmation was about singing a song and the importance that singing, and whether it's aloud, in tune, off tune, whatever, that we have that capacity to pray twice, that we have the vibration and we have the meanings of whatever words are attached. For Thursday, we have release, formerly known as elimination, renunciation, a whole bunch of different words. I love the word release because for me, a lot of what I do is clench fist, and to say release has a different meaning than renunciation or elimination, because it's about that letting go in that sense of calming and breathing. As I let go, I am present to what is here and now. I release old, tired thought patterns or habits, and in so doing, I create space for something new. When I focus on the present, it is easier to forgive, to experience joy, and hope for the future. My future goals are but symbols of how I want to spend my time now. So I let go of obstacles, self-imposed or perceived. I let go of criticism of myself and others. I let go of disappointment in myself and others. I let go to the spaciousness created by letting go. I realize the opportunity to be fully present in new and miraculous ways. And our affirmation is, as I let go, I open to more miraculous ways of being. And finally, our 12th power, the time when it is said the wise men finally made their journey to the Christ child. Life in all forms. Life is coursing through my veins and through my soul. It connects me to Source, to my ancestors, to all life present and to come. It is one life, held in the mind of spirit. I revel in this truth and marvel at the enduring power of life, which transcends physical death. Life always has the last word. It always breeds possibility. In stillness, I marvel at the miraculous power of life. And our affirmation is, I am alive and aware, therefore anything is possible. And that gets us to the end of our 12 days of Christmas. And I open it to any questions, comments. I realize we're way ahead of schedule.